Ladies and gentlemen of the beautiful crypto space, Bitcoin just keeps going lower. With earlier today, a price of $52,500 being reached, XRP going as low as 50.3 cents, Ethereum $2,150, and this is the chart of the S&P. Even that did not look good. This is where the Friday opened up. And this is where we ended up. And again, that's on the entire S&P, down 2 or some percent in a day. And yesterday, Bitcoin went down roughly 4% or so in an hour. But it ended up, let's quickly check that out. It ended up going down roughly 8% or so within an 8-hour period. That's pretty crazy if you ask me. And so one of the parts of it is the extreme fear we've seen when it comes to these Bitcoin ETFs. Just yes, an Ethereum ETF for that matter, but Ethereum didn't really do too much. Bitcoin has been the main proponent. Just yesterday, again, we had a $170 million outflow. Once more, BlackRock's fund is still netting zero. I'm still not 1,000% sure why that number never moves. Regardless though, even though this has been an extremely negative day, and many people are panicking yet again, I don't know, it doesn't really hurt me no more. And I've said it before, these are some of the most terrifying, the most sad and disheartening times I've seen in crypto in an extremely long time. But in reality, we are in one of the hardest bull runs ever. Matter of fact, I think this is going to be the craziest bull run. What I recommend you guys all to do though, just quickly right now, is join the Discord. A link is down below. I'm going to try and make this the best crypto group out there. And I think perhaps to do that, I might have to do some giveaways, but I prefer if it just becomes a group where people join in, share whatever information they found and ask some questions, rather than me incentivizing that with giveaways, because I don't think people are there to learn and stuff, but then they just come for the money. I don't think that's the best idea. But if you guys have got suggestions to make it a cooler place, do let me know. Man, when it comes to Bitcoin fear and greed index, yesterday we had 22 extreme fear. Today, actually, interesting, we had ourselves 23. So, wait, what? There's less fear today than there was yesterday. Perhaps it's because the number came out around 12, and since perhaps prices already started recovering from there on forward, the fear was now lessened because you already had the drop. If you're asking me personally what I think is going to happen, I said it before and I'll say it again. Even though we had a healthy and proper reaction on the bottom here, I am preparing myself for further low points. I've been saying this for multiple weeks that I'm mostly cash heavy because I'm not really in the mood to try time altcoin bottoms. I'm not a big fan of it. If you're trading Bitcoin, which I always am, it's fine to open a position any day and just keep adding to it. If you're asking my honest opinion though, I think 51 to 49,000, just the previous bottom, what we saw 5th or so of August, is one of the healthiest areas to start going crazy at. And again, like I said yesterday, the starting price point would most likely be 53K. We went to 52 point something. And the bottom of where this accumulation wave could be is about 49,000. This means if you're buying within that area, you're very likely to get yourself a good price or a good deal. But I'm personally more inclined towards, the bottom part of that, just because that's where we formed the bottom previously. And because really, if you start looking at this, the crypto market, I don't think has been in this much fear since like 2021 maybe or so. I mean, I all know, I meant to say we all know that the bull market's here, right? We watching this channel. But really, when I look over on Twitter, there are so many people that really disagree with this whole narrative. They say, you know what? The bull market, like we saw at the last couple of cycles, it is never going to happen again. Miles, for example, had some interesting thoughts. I just see this, what he posted now. It's riskier to not be exposed to the market than it is to be exposed to it. Crypto is highly asymmetrical. Sure, your portfolio could go down another 50% or more, but the upside is literally 10 to 20x. There aren't many other industries where this is possible, let alone realistic. If we fail, we fail, but the risk is far too great not to play the game. I always put this out on my channel by saying the following. Let's say you're playing roulette. I do not condone that, but this is just an example, right? Or you're playing a coin flip game. Let's do that one. But roulette is, I'm going to say most people don't want to play a coin flip game, but hey, some people do. Roulette, you have black or red. You have the house, but let's skip that for ease purposes, right? Similarly with a coin flip, you have either heads or tails. Let's say you win double and you lose all on the odds. So, if you get red, you double your money from $100 to $200. If it goes to black, you lose everything you had. that wouldn't be interesting to a lot of people, would be to some. It's like a even odds. Now, again, usually the expected value of roulette is slightly negative. If we take out the house, though, it comes to a flat 0. But things change when you start making things slightly more attractive. So again, the expected value at net 0 basically means that you are indifferent to taking this. You could not. Eventually, if you keep repeating this often enough, you'll get back to $0. This changes, though, if one of the two things happens. Well, both can happen, but either we decrease however much you can lose on the one side. So instead of losing 100%, you only lose half your money, like with crypto, if you were basically wrong, right? That also increases your expected value significantly because either you double your money or you only lose half. So either you go from $100 to $200 or you go from $100 to $50. You have 100 to win, 50 to lose. If we now also say, you know what, the moment you win, you don't just double your money, but you 10x your money, which is extremely logical for bull markets. Well, then all of a sudden, if you have $100, on the one hand, you have $1,000 coming for you. On the other hand, you have $50 in the minus. Again, the expected value now being really quite high, and so a lot of people would be inclined to take this. If we now also say, you know what, the odds are not 50-50, but they're 75%, 25%. So a 75% chance of 10x your money with a 25% chance of going down 50%. Or again, just a simple calculation is our expected value will be 7.625, which is significantly better than our original numbers that we started with. And why is this number so crucial? Now, there are some parts that add to this, by the way. For example, partially what your nature is and how much you value these profits over the game of getting the profits, but that's besides the point. Understanding the number is quite crucial to a lot of people because it makes more sense than to go for it rather than to wait it out. So again, I bring up a story. If I look back on my investment decisions over time, I don't really regret many things because that's one of my life goals, to minimize regret. However, if you ask me to point one out, Dusty, if you could do everything over again, what would you do differently? You know, you don't regret the choices you've made because they were your choices after all, and I stand by them firmly. But what would you have done differently? The number one thing I'll tell you is devotion and believing in something, even though a lot of the odds show against it. In this case here, the odds are not against it, really. It's just so much depressing thoughts when it comes to the crypto community. But if I look back at 2017 or 2021, if I had just believed slightly more that this time it's really going to pop off, I would have had a way better time. And ladies and gentlemen, there will always be people trying to tell you that this time is going to be different. But on the opposite side, there are also people raking in tens of millions of dollars on just one swing. Midget said, for example, look, man, you need to realize that we'll never have an on-chain cycle as good as 2021 ever again. COVID plus stimulus checks were a one-in-a-lifetime thing that gave people time and liquidity to mess around in crypto. The worst part, the majority lost and are scared to come back. And I keep referring to this, just in my own little circle, as the cycle mentality. Every single bull cycle, and trust me when I say this, I'm not your financial advisor, but this is true to the fullest extent. Every single cycle, people will tell you that this time is going to be different and that the gains we saw last time can never be seen again. And then it overtakes it. Stock market the same. You know, I think every single time, I don't want to say that as a certainty, but I think every single time the stock market had a crash, people thought that it was over. You see, the stock market couldn't keep gaining forever. You see, and a couple years afterwards, look at how flourishing it was. I'm not saying it'll last forever, but essentially every single time we're not full-on mooning, people say, this is, yeah. Trust me when I say it's hard to fathom just how much your life can change around in a short span of time because you have doubts, because it is too easy. And I keep saying, yes, this crypto journey has been extremely easy for a lot of people. Not easy mentally, but it's just a matter of you click now, make a decision, you 10x your money. You want to know the funniest thing? Realize that the stock market would have been the same for most people, but most people just don't believe. After 2007, 2008, for example, you had 15 years almost of, okay, let's say 12 years of crazy bull market. You would have made so much money, right? Specifically if you're buying some specific things, but even on the S&P, you would have made insane amounts of money. But at the start, people said, no. You see, the stock market will never have this flourishing of a time again. You know that they're saying that every single time. And that's why so many people don't dare to invest. You know, if I look back, Most people I've met in my life have $0 invested in anything. They might have some in their savings account, but they have $0 invested. You know why? Because they're afraid that things will go down. Do you understand that? Oh, how hard it has been. I'm getting passionate here. You know how hard it has been to convince people to take a risk, make some investments? To me, investing is the most risk-free thing you can do. Keeping it in cash is the risky thing. And I keep referring back to people as well by saying, what is inherently risk-free? Cash, you have inflation, and if you were in Zimbabwe, if you were in Nigeria, if you were pick a country, your cash would have not done you any good. You would have hated yourself because you lost all your value. Okay, then real estate. Well, real estate is just like the stock market. Sometimes very good, sometimes very bad. Pick a thing that's safe forever. Gold. Well, if we're going the gold route, the store of value route, then crypto would also be very appealing to you. But people often like to say gold and silver, maybe some things of that sort. But inherently, there's not that much value to it if people just decide, these governments have too much. We don't know the full extent of how much gold there is. They could actually have lied about it. Anyway, there could just be 1 or 2 announcements made by any major power, like for example the US, saying something about gold, and all of a sudden that will collapse. They wouldn't do it, most likely. For example, China now says, hey, they're going to spend all their efforts to go and get more gold, in terms of mining operations, to spend so much money on it. Perhaps they're eventually going to have so much that it becomes less proper of a store of value. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's just a very ludicrous example of one policy change can change the value of nearly anything. Cryptos too, sure. But again, if we're talking about what is best, what do we have the best value at? I think crypto. And that's why I just quickly showed you the number. It could even be wrong here. Maybe I was too small-brained when I was making this. But for me, crypto has one of the best expected values. If I look at the risk and I look at the reward, it's one of the best ones. If you're buying a home, for example, you already almost know what return is going to give you. You have a good expectation. And you know the risk, right? It's good on both sides, but the expectation is not that I'm going to 10x my money in a very short amount of time. It's not the expectation. With Forex, for example, if you're very lucky, you can, but that's not what most people would do. With the stock market, again, I think we'll double my money in a short amount of time. But again, I don't think I'm going to do such crazy numbers. Even though for the stock market, you might say there's a less probability of losing, I like to argue against that. I like to argue that crypto has a good chance of doing well, even if the stock market goes for a crazy crash. I know it's had a direct correlation recently, but I don't think that has to stay. And anyway, I don't want to make this video too long. Just want to say, join the Discord if you haven't already. Make sure you press the like button on this video if you agree or you enjoy it. And last of all, don't listen to all these fear-mongerers, because you have to calculate for yourself. You have to think for yourself. Does the risk to reward make sense? And if it does, then if you're fearful right now, you're a crazy maniac. I'm not fearful a single day of the week. I might not like that I'm losing money. Hey, I'm a human being too, all right? I don't like seeing these negative numbers on my screen. Hell no. But 2 things. One is I know this has all been calculated, and I know it was not going to be an easy journey. If it was too easy, then it wouldn't exist. That's the core principle. Even what we're witnessing right now, most people can't handle all this. They look at cryptos, they think, ooh, down 10%. You see, I'm happy I never touched that. I have people that are extremely close to me that are not invested in crypto. Why? Because they still don't believe. I don't mind. You stay on your lane. But you know what the funniest thing? When cryptos start pumping again, and this has happened multiple different cycles, because many of them have known about this crypto stuff for 7, 8 years. Every single time they think, hey, don't you have one of those cool cryptos again that you're going to buy soon? What's popping right now? Every single time, without fail. When things are crashing, nobody's here. When things are pumping, everybody wants your attention. All these statements of, oh, the people lost in 2021, they won't come back. People always come back. But they start coming back when things are in a really good position. Some people say this about life, right? That nobody looks at you when you're down and everybody's trying to get a piece of you when you're up. So is it the same when it comes to markets, really? The very few, right? The small percentage, they make the most of the money. Why? Because they're doing the opposite. They're there when things are bad and they get out when things are good. It's also the silver lining, I think, in the book Intelligent Investor. And I've quoted that multiple times on the channel here. It's also that saying of buy when there's blood in the streets. But realistically, it's just get bullish when things are going bad and get bearish when things are going extremely good. It's the opposite of what most people have in terms of mentality. And there are some, key differences, for example, when it comes to my momentum investing strategy. But generally, that's the way you should think. Change your brain to function that way. Right now, things are doing bad. Ooh. Inherently, they become less risky the lower the prices go. If you've already gone down 80%, well, yes, you have coins like Luna that go down 99 on 99%. But for the most part, if you're already down 80%, you're at least in an 80% better position than you would have been yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about it.